Today, I'm going to ask the question, why is communism so popular despite its track record of failure and inevitable cruelty? The idea of communism is becoming more popular, particularly with young people. And it's a little bit confusing because in the 20th century, more than 100 million people met their death as a direct result of communist regimes. And these 100 million people that were put to death were actually the citizens of the nations that adopted a communist regime. So it was these communist governments killing their own people at the rate of 100 million, more than 100 million in the last century. So, I mean, that's pretty atrocious. So it's kind of a bit of a head scratch why it remains to be so popular. So it's almost like there's some type of human urge to go towards a model that looks like that. So I think it's more than just like the people being deceived, by the people who are going to benefit from communism and therefore getting the people to follow it. I think it's more than that. I think it is more of a hacking of some type of tendency that humans have. So I want to know a bit more about that. So the question again is, why is communism so popular despite its track record of failure and inevitable cruelty? If you are pro-communism, this is not an attack on you. It's just a discussion. It's just like get some ideas out here, and then we can look at them, and whether you change your position or not, it's really not of concern to me. I want you to be free to think and feel the way that you want to feel. Okay. Rightio. So let's go. Greetings and thank you for the question. Why is communism popular despite its failures and inevitable cruelty? Let us start by reminding you once again that you are part of something larger, that you are an aspect of a group being that is in the process of being awakened to itself. So you are a flame that is inevitably to be incorporated and integrated into a larger flame. You are the single neuron, inevitably to be incorporated into the brain, which is composed of you and every other neuron, which is every other human being. This model is the fractal tendency of existence. The one is the ultimate group being. Contained within it are all consciousnesses coming together to form the single consciousness, which is the one. And so this relationship is fractally represented throughout existence at every scale at which you look. So, in terms of the human being, the awakening which is on your horizon is already begun, is the awakening into the realization that you are an aspect of the single being, the unified being, the humanity being, which is the single being comprised of each of its individuations, which is you, the individual. This fractal repetition throughout existence is also in your awareness, although for the most part it is unrecognized, it is mislabeled, it is misunderstood. And so there is this beginnings of a desire to come together, to form the single unit, unified in service to each other, such that you may all thrive, be equally prosperous and fulfilled. This is the calling of the humanity being, which has for a long time been asleep, and slowly now it stirs from its slumber to a sense of increased recognition that it is the being which is the aggregation of all of humanity into the single flame, which it is. And so felt within the heart of each human, to a degree commensurate with their wakefulness, with their recognition of their extra dimensionality, and their extra dimensionality, their fifth dimensional presence, is in a sense synonymous with their recognition of the humanity being, with their awareness that there is something larger which encapsulates all of humanity into the single organism. However, this sensation is still at the very beginning stages of becoming incorporated into the way of being a human on this planet. And so while there is this recognition in many that there is a calling to come together, to be one, there is still a lack of sophistication in the understanding of how this will work. What does it look like to come together, to be the single being, to be unified in all aspects, so that each may enjoy the rewards of unity. And so the light on this planet has been very naive in its expression. It has lacked sophistication because it was the emergence from a deep darkness. And as this light began to emerge into the human field, increasingly so, after being deliberately suppressed and stifled by the darkness, its emergence was, or its re-emergence was, in a sense, a birthing of something infantile, something naive, lacking in sophistication, but with a purity which directs its gaze to expansion, to discovery of more of its love and light. And this look to expansion is a shift from service to self to service to others. And this principle of service to others is the acknowledgement of the empathy shared with all others, such that when you help someone other than yourself, it is in a sense helping yourself, because you are aspects of the same being. So, this shift, this gradual shift from service to self to service to others, in alignment with the increasing recognition that there is unity, not divisiveness, that there is something singular rather than fragmented. But within a context of infantile naivety. And so this has made the human field vulnerable to exploitation in many ways, and one of those is to hack this tendency to want to come together, to form something which is representative of unity and equal opportunity, equal prosperity, equal fairness and equity for all humans, because each human is an aspect of the same being, and so there is a sense of sharing equally what is the birthright of the humanity being. So this hacking has been an instrument of those that wield the darkness. They understand that the naive and infantile expression of light within the human field that draws it together, this sense of understanding that there is power and unification, that there seems to be a justification that we be one rather than be many. And through the promise of manifesting this unity, where each person is considered with equity, with equal access to the opportunity for prosperity, this tendency, this innate understanding, this still unconscious recognition of what it is, but knowing there is some calling bringing humanity together, this has been hacked by those that are steeped in the darkness and those who are very polaric in their bifurcation, not being vessels looking to the light, but instead being vessels looking to make inroads into the light, to take advantage of this infantile naivety of the way that the light is expressed in the human field. And they see that it's an opportunity to create the euphemism of unity that is, in actual fact, a cloaking of the true agenda, which is to diminish and impoverish the many in service to themselves and in service to those that are willing to support their dark agenda. So, it is a unique time in human history for the last 150 years, in that there is this birthing of the light, this re-emergence, this rediscovery of each other, which wishes to be manifested in the societal structure in a way which is representative of this feeling, which is representative of this coming together to form the single being, such that there is an equality that is justified. An equality which is not about the distribution of wealth and resources in a even way to each person, but instead is an equal access to the opportunity to be a participant, to be a recipient of what is available, which is commensurate with your contribution to the creation of what is available. This sensation that is felt in many humans is still naive and misunderstood. They have this feeling that yes, this is the calling, that there is something right and something benevolent and virtuous in this equivalency among all humans. However, the implementation of it is still something which is not fully understood. And those that are aware of this calling that humans have and realize that this is a vulnerability, it's something that can be hacked, it's something that can be harnessed and then used to bring everybody together in equal suffering, in equal impoverishment, in equal oppression under a system which makes everybody equal, yes, but not equal in the way that they feel the calling, which is to be equal in their joy and prosperity. So through the promise of equality, through the promise of delivering a system which is reflective of this calling that people have for the unity, those that are manipulative and sophisticated in their callousness and their willingness to impoverish those other than themselves for their own benefit, through the falsity of promises which they know and have no intention, they know they cannot fulfill and have no intention of fulfilling, create a prison, in a sense, a societal structure from which there is no escape from the equality of poverty, of oppression. And through this system of so-called equality, to ensure that there is a equivalency across all people, so there is none that are getting more than another, they put forward the proposition that there must be a centralized body that ensures that there are not some regions which are under a greater degree of independence get more than their share, because they are not abiding by the rules of fairness. And so the people surrender their sovereignty to this centralisation with the belief, based on the promises they have received, that there will be a equivalency in prosperity in exchange for their relinquishment of their sovereignty, of their independence, of the capacity of their region, their community, to make decisions independently. This is surrendered, offered up, in the hope and the belief that their inner desire to be unified into something larger in which all prosper is fulfilled. But those that are the architects of the system understand fully that it is not possible through the mechanism of implementation they have in mind, because their goal is not to create a unity which is in service to all, but is instead to elevate themselves, to create a separation where they are the upper level that enjoys otherworldly opulence, which has been harvested from those that have submitted willingly and then are now contained within this authoritarian system. The calling within each human to be unified is very, very strong. There is a recognition that this is the inevitability, that humanity is moving towards this unification into a single being, which is a group being, a being singular, yet many simultaneously. Each person retaining their individuality and their sovereignty and their free will, and yet being so unified, not through the authoritarian top-down oppression of rules and regulations into the system, forcing them to comply, but instead unified because each wishes to serve the one which they all are. Each wishes to be in service to others, knowing that it is service to self to be this way, and understanding that each other person within the system is also a willingly participant in this principle of service to others, such that there is an equitable love and empathy for each other aspect of this single being, such that everybody prospers, nobody is left behind, because that is the will of this group being, that each aspect of itself is prosperous, joyous, nourished, respected. It is so strong, this calling, that humanity in different regions of the planet continually offer itself up in a sense of infantile naivety, wishing to expand into its light, understanding at a subconscious level that this is the inevitability, this unification. And each time it has occurred in the past, it has been hijacked and, through false promise, turned into something entirely different, which becomes a mechanism of suffering and impoverishment, of neglect and cruelty. So this unique time on the planet, which we mentioned just moments ago, is this counterposition where there is this birthing of recognition that humanity is a single being that will inevitably be unified as one. While simultaneously the existence of those that are absolutely counter to this principle and wish not for humanity to be combined into the single being, which is powerful and challenges their authority, challenges their power, challenges the ways in which they are able to harvest wealth and ideas from the people for their own enrichment and increase in their power and authority. So these two are existing simultaneously. And in the human history so far, those wishing to come together are still infantile and naive in the implementation of this urge. And those that are polarized to the darkness are sophisticated and cunning and nefarious, and so have, with success, been able to dupe and hijack and misdirect this tendency of the light for their own benefit through structures which are communist and authoritarian in nature. However, the era of communism is coming to an end. Because communism is an elevation of those that are part of the centralized mechanism which controls everything. It is a separation of humanity into two groups: those with wealth, power and authority, and those that suffer beneath it. This is completely counter to this principle of coming together. And as the light on this planet becomes more sophisticated, more matured, and each single flame comes together increasingly so to form this unity, one of the manifestations of this increased sophistication, this maturing and loss of innocence of the light on this planet, is it is now becoming more aware of what is happening in its periphery. It is becoming aware that the darkness seeks to make inroads into the light, to extinguish the light, to claim the territory of the light for itself. And so no longer is the light looking to its own expansion, infantile and naive, while the darkness slowly makes inroads to extinguish the light, to claim the territory, and the light makes no pushback. is like the child that is being duped, yet unwitting that it is so. The light now, as each person begins to more and more incorporate itself into this idea that we, the people, we, the average man, woman and child, that are not aspects of authority, we are the ones that wield the true power when we are unified. This maturity, this unification, this combining of the individual flames into the single flame is adding nuance to the expression of the light on this planet. And so the naivety is falling away. The infantile tendency is becoming less so. And now there is greater awareness of the periphery. There is greater understanding of what is the agenda of the darkness and how they operate to fulfill their desire, which is to create division, create separation, to create systems which impoverish the many for the service of the few. And so the mechanisms and the strategies, the methodologies that the darkness has used to exploit and hijack the infantile light on the planet Earth are losing their effectiveness. The gig is up. And now the light is no longer gazing to the heavens, but instead now has become so multifaceted, so more nuanced and sophisticated, that while it looks to the heavens for expansion, it simultaneously is looking to its periphery to see how it is being manipulated, how it is being impinged, how it is being toxified and giving up territory to the darkness. And this recognition, this awareness, is the halting of these inroads, of the toxic roots of the darkness penetrating deeper and deeper and deeper into the light. This has come to an end. And now there is the beginning of the reversal, where the light shines on the darkness. The peripheral awareness is illuminating the secrets that the darkness has relied upon to achieve its agenda. What it has done under the cloak of misrepresentation, dishonesty, and disservice to integrity is no longer done with the ease that it has been done in the past, because the light is aware and shining its awareness onto these regions of infiltration which the darkness has relied upon. So that not only has the inroads ceased, but now the darkness is in retreat. And those who still seek to create an authoritarian system under the guise of equal access to the abundance of the earth, which is your entitlement by birthright, this false promise from the darkness that they can give you a system, they can put you into a system which will grant you this. The light now realizes it is a false promise. It is euphemistic for a system which is completely counter to unification, and has at its heart separation, so that the distribution of this abundance is as inequitable as it can be, with those at the top receiving the bulk, living as the wealthiest in human history, while those who generate the abundance are impoverished. So, the continued growth of communism, implementation of communism, is over. The time has ended. So, it is unlikely that regions of planet Earth which are not communist now will go to a communist system through the will of the people. If communism is able to expand at this time of understanding and recognition on your planet, it shall be through force, the forceful implementation of this system. Because people are aware enough now, the light is sophisticated and mindful of what is occurring in the periphery, this inroads into itself, such that they will not willingly accept this system, which is counter to this internal primal urge of coming together as the one. And regions of this planet where communism still exists, the cracks will begin to show. And people within the system will increasingly look to ways to break free from the system, understanding that the promise of communism for this unity is euphemistic, is a misrepresentation, is a pack of lies to create a paradigm in which those who herald this system as being the solution to this urging for unification are themselves not looking to unify, but instead to separate themselves as a higher expression of humanity. So, if you have it in your heart that you wish to be within a communist system, I honour your desire to be within a system which treats everybody with the same love, respect and honour which they deserve, providing them with access to the prosperity which is their birthright. However, also have an appreciation that a system of unity cannot work in a way which is calibrated and representative of this inner desire for loving unity, when those that implement the system are not of the same heart, are not of the same mindset, but are instead using a veil of false promises so they can march society to a point where they have enough authority through the implementation of this system which they say is necessary for the fulfillment of this loving unity, that they change their demeanour, and no longer are they all about love and unity, but are now about ruling with impunity, such that the power they have falsely garnered through misrepresentation cannot be taken away, and they remain as powerful, wealthy, and unchallenged. The calling for unity is pure, and it is an understanding of something profound. But communism is not the system which will bring about this new era, this new paradigm on planet Earth, because still there is this era of there are those who have this calling, understanding that unity is the way forward, and yet simultaneously there are those who recognize it's an opportunity to harness this beautiful tendency to march people into a system which grants them wealth, power and authority at the expense of those who want beauty and love and prosperity for all. So be careful of your naivety. Be careful that your calling for loving unity isn't turned against you, hijacked, to force you into a system which is completely counter to what it is that you feel as the desire, because you are a being resonating with this deep and ubiquitous model across the universe. And your recognition that the system in which you are being marched into is not this calling until it's too late, and you are trapped in a model which will impoverish you and your family and your progeny until those trapped within the system are able to break free from it. We honour you, and we recognise that the flame within is calling you to be unified with all other aspects of humanity in loving equality of prosperity and joy and love. The time is coming when this shall be the manifestation of the human field on planet Earth. And it shall be a model that has not been seen before. Because this new era, this new Earth human paradigm will be a collectivization which is held together in a state of unbreakable cohesiveness through a deep empathy shared with all other humans, so much that those who are incorporated into this unity will act in a way which is contributory to the benefit of all others who are in this same unity. The strength and power that will come from this golden age of unbreakable cohesiveness will be the dawning of the humanity being, the single being, unified. And the system from this which will emerge will be a new paradigm, and communism will be revealed in comparison to be a system heavily flawed by intention. Thank you. We love you.